it that Gaddafi was one of our key allies in North Africa against the Islamist movement.
So when prisoners were rendered to a country like Libya, to try and get information out of them, what would you have expected to happen to them?
Who cares? You know, you really don't care. You really want to get them off the street. It's getting an enemy off the street. It's one less you have to worry about, and you move on to the next operation that helps to protect your country.
But you seem to do it and pretend they're not being tortured. Why pretend they're not being tortured? Why else would they be sent here?
I don't think anybody pretends they're not being tortured. The CIA always told the president, whether he was a Republican or a Democrat, if anybody is sent to an Arab country or a Middle Eastern country, they're bound to be tortured. Ultimately, the responsibility for sending them there is not CIA or MI6. It's the Prime Minister or the President. They're the ones that authorize that. If you're unhappy with the situation, I think you're unhappy with the politicians.
So are you saying that somebody who is rendered now would still be tortured? Because certainly when President Obama came into power, the former, or the now past CIA director, Leon Panetta, said that rendition would still be used, but they would seek assurances that the detainee would not be tortured. So are you saying it doesn't happen anymore?
No, I'm not saying, I frankly don't know. I thought Obama stopped the rendition program, but anybody who thinks that you can accept the word of a Middle Eastern country that they'll treat somebody according to the level of international law or U.S. law, you're a pretty naive person. They may say the words, but it's very doubtful that they'll behave in that manner if it's not in their interest to do so.
So I go back to the question I said earlier. What would you expect to happen to them? How would you expect them to be tortured?
I neither know how nor care.
But in some cases, questions were sent in order for them to be put to the detainee. So there's a certain level of control from the CIA to the Libyan authorities.
No, there's no level of control. There's just a request to get these questions answered if they can. But when you give them to a service like the Libyan service, you can never really trust the answers you get back from the service unless you can corroborate them based on your own information. Same thing with the Egyptians or the Tunisians or most anybody else in the Middle East.
So you don't care how they're tortured. Do you care if they died while being tortured?
Not really. They wouldn't be in prison if they weren't enemies of the United States. I would have preferred to kill them with our own hands, but presidents are very unlikely to do the dirty work themselves. They're always looking for other people to do the dirty work, whether it's Egyptians or Lebanese or Yemenis or Pakistanis. Our presidents have a lot of talk, but they don't have much courage amongst themselves.
So as far as you're concerned, any means justifies the end, which is the protection of the nation, be it the US or the UK?
Well, I can't speak for the UK. I can only speak for myself. My job was to protect Americans, and I didn't much care how we did it, as long as it was approved by the president, first of all, and approved by the legal teams in the president's office, at the Department of Justice, and at CIA. As long as those two things were in place, we did whatever we could to defend America.
So outside of Guantanamo Bay, have you any idea how many prisoners have been rendered to nations like Libya, Egypt, and the others that have been named today?
I really don't. I was the chief. I ran the rendition operation for about 4 years, a little bit more, and we probably rendered 30 or 40 people. I don't think there's that many who have been rendered, but I don't have any precise numbers.
30 to 40 people, and did they all come back alive?
Well, hell no. I don't know if they came back alive. They wouldn't come back to us. We delivered them to the Egyptians or to whoever would take them because Mr. Clinton ordered them not to be held in the U.S. legal system. So when they were picked up, we had to do something with them. And Clinton and his advisors wanted us to take them to Egypt. And we would say to the president, well, we can do that, but they're going to be treated poorly, and your State Department is going to complain about the way Egyptian justice works. But they didn't care. As long as they didn't have to do the dirty work, Clinton was happy to send them to Egypt or any other country that would take them.
So were you shipping them out to die? Were you shipping them out to be killed?
We were shipping them back to countries where they were wanted for legal offenses. We didn't render anyone who was not under indictment or who had not been convicted in absentia of either a capital crime or a terrorism offense. And we returned them to the country that wanted them on a legal process, and that country treated them according to its own laws.
And how strong legally was the evidence against them? Were you confident they had done something wrong?
Irrefutable. Irrefutable.
Well, it's been fascinating to talk to you, certainly. Michael F. Scheuer, CIA chief between 1996 to 1999. Thank you very much indeed. Well, let's get reaction to that.